Guys, we are here today with Zach Beach with Wicked Smart. This is all about creative financing. We are telling you guys, get out of your stage your sandbox and think about the world and the playhouse, the playground of real estate. And you know, when it comes to all things creative, how do we buy real estate? How are we going to be able to be set up to buy real estate through creative financing? There's none better in my books than Zach Beach. Zach, how are you today?
Jenna, I am doing excellent. I'm excited to be here with you today and getting excited to spend some time with you down in Dallas here in the next couple of weeks.
That's right. We are only a few short weeks away. And, you know, whether you're listening to this before Summit or, you know, you missed Summit, you missed Zach in person, this information, guys, is something you have to put into practice. You have to put it into your wheelhouse. Start searching up. Of course, Zach has an incredible company that helps walk alongside you to be able to do this so you don't have to do it by yourself. But I know, Zach, you're going to be talking about how to, what we're going to be facing in these next several months, what opportunities are going to be in real estate. And then, you know, getting into, so many people are like, is now the time to buy real estate? What would you say?
Well, of course, it's the best time to buy real estate. Any time is the best time to buy real estate. It's that old Chinese proverb. It's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is now. Yes. It's interesting that you brought up inside this like sandbox per se when we're talking about, you know, your community. We specifically work with people to help them plan their escape. We've been helping people retire, whether that means retiring from their W-2 job or retiring from, you know, another business that they had in order to then become full-time in real estate investing. So I love what you're saying here, which is it's time to get creative and start buying assets. And we really, when it comes to creative financing, and I'll hit on a couple of the different ways in which we buy, but think of it as the most risk-averse way of buying real estate, because we're not asking you to raise a bunch of capital. We're not asking you to personally guarantee debt, and we're not asking you to go to banks.
Yes.
And because of that, and because of the normal traditional roadblocks with real estate, like putting 20% down on every investment property you have, or going to get large amounts of hard money loans, we're going to show you how to actually be able to get into real estate and get in there pretty seamlessly when it comes to creative financing and without the traditional roadblocks. That way you can grow and scale this portfolio and this business as big or small as you'd like it to be. And when I talk about creative financing, I know a lot of people throw that word around here. It's interesting because we used to be like the redheaded stepchild per se in real estate. Nobody wanted to talk to the person that knew how to buy real estate with no money down because they didn't believe it was possible, or asking sellers to finance deals, or the infamous subject to deals. But now that the market has changed, everybody wants to know what creative financing is. Everybody wants to know how to be able to buy real estate this way. And it's because it is set up specifically for turmoil in the markets in order to protect yourself.
Yes.
When COVID hit, we tripled our business. When our students across the country tripled the amount of deals that they did in the exact months that COVID happened. My father-in-law started this business years ago, and that's because in 2008, the market crashed and he lost everything. And he said, how do I get back into real estate without having cash, without having credit, or without being able to go to banks? And this is where we've now created and mastered and put a system and process around it in order to help people be successful, because we knew that we never wanted to be in the same position that 2008 created. So now we are in a very high leverage position because we're not personally guaranteeing any of the debt. We don't have large amounts of down payment in properties, and we're controlling a large portion of real estate across the entire country, done over $100 million worth of these types of deals, and can typically control 50 to 60 million nationally. And everyone gets to sleep well at night because of those original factors. So with that, when I talk about creative financing, we're talking about really three major ways in order to buy real estate. I know you're in the state of Texas. I know there's some specifics around that, but don't worry. We got you covered. We have attorneys in Texas in order to ensure you get these deals done. But we're talking lease options, or really to be able to control a piece of real estate without ownership. And I'll talk about at the event how to be able to actually build an equity without ownership in a property. Really, really cool technique, a really easy way, or the most simple way to get involved in creative financing. We're going to talk about the infamous subject to deals. Yes. Buying real estate subject to the existing financing, where you close on it, title remains. or title transfers to your company, but the debt still remains attached to the seller. We're going to show you how to navigate that. And really, in my opinion, that is the biggest golden nugget, the biggest technique, because of how fast this market is transitioning and changing, and how many people, it's over 10 million people in pre-foreclosure right now and counting, how many people need that, and how many people have bought so many properties with little to no equity in them, small down payments, small interest rates. I'm going to show you how to take advantage and really be able to provide a solution for those types of sellers. And then lastly, owner financing.
Yes.
Consistently across the entire country, there is roughly a third of the properties are debt free. That means that there are sellers out there that are willing and able to be your bank. And that's exactly what we do. We help them become the bank, hold the mortgage on the property where you hold title as a seller. And then within that too, and jump it back to you as this is the time, the buyer pool that we work with has dramatically increased. And it already was known that out of every 10 people that walk into a bank, only 4 of them are able to acquire a loan. That means that the world that we live in, the 60% of the market that wants to become a homeowner, we actually provide a very smooth path to home ownership by providing either a rent to own program or owner financing program to the people as well. That's how we're able to start generating what we call our 3 payday system, creating 3 distinctive income streams from every single deal that you do. And this is how getting creative, this is how stepping outside your box, your sandbox, and be able to get into real estate deals without the normal barriers. The most risk averse and easiest barrier eventually when it comes into getting involved in real estate here.
Well, I'm so excited, and I'm like literally writing fast and furious notes because
I'm from New England. I'm talking fast.
Great. I mean, I'm tracking with you here, and I cannot tell you how exciting, and I know that you have seen this progression in real estate, and you have seen it's all about offensive, right? I mean, we're in football season. We got to play offense. We got to know the plays. We got to know the drills. We have to know when to shift, call an audible, be ready to go. This real estate industry has turned on a dime with the interest rates. And like you said, redhead's stepchild, we feel like as stagers, we were definitely not popular whenever homes are selling so quickly. Now all of a sudden we're popular again, and people are like, hey, let's do this. But what does that bring? That brings an influx of wannabes into our industry. And what we're teaching our business owners is, hey guys, don't just be a service provider, actually own the asset. And when people do shy away from creative financing, they're like, number one, okay, it's too good to be true. Number two, it's complicated and I don't understand it. So talk to the people that are one of those, too good to be true and it's way too complicated. Like, how do y'all 101 this for those of us that really haven't done? Now we have, Tim and I, we've done some owner financing and
Love it.
Early, probably like it's probably been 15 years ago now, but it's still, you guys have new systems, new ways, new agreements, because we lost our shorts on one of those. The other ones panned out, but that risk can kind of be there for those that think that it's a little too complicated.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And I love the analogy of football. I played football forever. So it's all about being proactive versus reactive.
Yes.
And we have been proactive for the past 10 years and just in creative financing, but we got over 50 years of real estate experience. So my family and I have seen markets after markets after markets. And that's why we've been proactively looking to say, hey, we're never going to let a 2008 happen to us again. Right. So that's why we have originally the creative financing was, it was by necessity is really the best way to put it. We got involved in creative financing because we had to.
Yes.
But we do creative financing now because we choose to, because there's no reason to actually, whether you're buying commercial, whether you're buying multifamily or single family, there's no reason to actually go the traditional route. There's too many sellers out there in the commercial, multi, and single family space that are more than willing to do something creatively because you provide a solution. That's what this is about. This is all about providing solutions. So when we talk about too good to be true, it's only too good to be true when you actually solve someone's problem, because you don't get a no money down deal if you don't solve that person's problem. So that's when it becomes a too good to be true, because there's actually alignment between you, the investor, the seller, and then eventually the alignment with the buyer as well. So it's all just about providing that solution. And at the end of the day, when the way in which we do our deals, if you can get into one property a year with no money down and create, a 10-year deal that's going to create over $100,000 worth of income or profits, I mean, just being able to learn these techniques would just be worth that one deal. But we'll show you how to do them consistently over and over again, so that way you get a great pipeline, a great system, be able to create these things on a consistent basis, and to actually be able to step off the treadmill one day. When you talk about complication, the interesting part when you say complication, I actually have had some high-level conversations with some top gurus or people in our industry as well. I guess people consider competition, but really just another person that provides a similar solution we are. And we talked about like wholesale deals, fix and flips, like how much more complicated those deals actually are versus creative financing. When I look at a lease purchase agreement, there's like 3 pieces of paperwork that we have to get signed. It's like you got a lease purchase agreement, you got your notice of option, you may run title, you may not. It's so simple because title's not transferring. And then when we go ahead and we sell to a buyer, there's only an additional 3 to 5 pieces of paperwork too. So it's not complicated. When people say that it's complicated, it's because there's too many choices. That's the challenge. Because creative financing, you have actually infinite amount of choices. Because when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, Zach, can you make an offer on my house?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I have no idea what I would make an offer for because I don't understand your motivation. I don't understand what the financials are on the property just yet. I need to understand all the pieces in order to then properly provide a solution." So that complication piece, and we get it all the time, it's just because there's a lot of different options to choose from versus I'm a wholesaler. I know I got to beat you down to get somewhere around 60% ARV. And that's it. That's barely my choice. The cool thing about creative financing is you can provide a choice to absolutely every seller out there, unless they need all of their money today at retail price. If that's the case, it doesn't make sense, because the only person that would buy that property is somebody that lives in the house as a retail buyer. So now you have the ability to provide really a massive amount of solutions. And then just really understanding the levers that you pull or the different options you have available. And that just comes with experience. I mean, that's what happens with a real estate investor. You just comes with experience, start to get gut feel. But we've actually simplified that in a way. And you mentioned earlier, we have a very specific partnerships in which we work with people in order to help them actually fine tune, complete these deals on a consistent basis and understand the moving parts. That way they can actually speed up their results significantly faster and don't have to live through the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of mistakes me and my family did, and you can just go ahead and move forward and continue to work these deals.
That's what I love is you guys will do it with us, right? It's like we can teach y'all and you can go DIY this. We can do it with you. We can do it for you. But when you're doing it with us, we're learning more. And let me ask you this, when it comes to our audience, Zach, when it comes to, like take our company Model My Home here in Dallas. So right now we have 85 homes staged. These are vacant homes on the market, right? I don't know if we would all want homes on the market right now, but okay, say it's a home, a traditional home on the market. It's empty. Somebody's moved out. So all of a sudden, if it is empty, it kind of looks distressed already. We know somebody's could possibly get a deal. But if they have invested some money into staging, now they're not as desperate, right? It's not like we've got a little bit of hope left. So our company comes in, we put furniture in and maybe the core rooms. So now, Zach, that home, based on interest rates, based on our lack of buyer pool, that home sits month 1, month 2, and all of a sudden there's a renewal. Like, do you guys want to keep this stuff? Because it's not that the staging didn't work. Maybe it was an awkward floor plan. It backed up against the railroad tracks. It just something.
Love every one of those.
You're right. It just wasn't perfect. So they say, you know what? I don't have the money to keep the furniture in there. Is that, Zach, an opportunity for the let's just say the executives at Model My Home to go in and say, well, Mr. Miss Seller, let us give you another option. What if we do this? Would this work for you? Or, like, could we dig a little deeper, and do we literally have people that would be perfect for this scenario? I'm just wondering.
Yeah. I would wonder too, when it comes to how many of those properties that when they come to a renewal period are about to expire off the market, because that's now a perfect inside opportunity for us to go ahead and acquire this piece of real estate.
Yeah.
I would say over the past 10 years, it's like 75 to 80% of the deals we do were expired listings, because of two reasons. One is actively trying to sell their house. And then two is the traditional market, for whatever reason, did not give them their answer, did not provide them a solution.
Right.
Now creative financing. So that actually eliminates one of, I would say, the competition when it comes to somebody's options. Like, really, they have the option to sell the property to us, to rent the property, lower their price, or go back to another realtor. But when the traditional market gives them expired listing, it's like we almost pulled that off the table. So now it's like, all right, so what are you going to do? You're going to go rent your house, or do you want to try to structure something with us?
Yeah, it's like the
So
traditional
now
market has rejected their listing at their price point, right?
100%. So if there was a way in order to get an inside track to some of these deals, yes, that would be a prime opportunity, because a vacant home in general is added pressure to the motivation. Nobody wants a vacant home. I don't care if you have hundreds of millions of dollars in your bank account. Every month you have to make a check payment, whether that's taxes or it's a mortgage. You know what's happening.
All the carrying costs, right?
All the carrying costs. So that is a fantastic. We'd be able to provide a fantastic solution, considering too, if it's not just local, but we're national with our associates and our students. So it'd be really easy to pair up people to say, hey, you send me over a referral. Either I'll show you how to do these deals, like what we're going to do at the event, which is I'll show these stagers how to then go and say, hey, I know you tried this route, but I have the ability to buy your house now that it's been vacant, it hasn't worked out. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Or I'll show you some options. And then the great news for you is you can either keep the staging there to go find a tenant buyer or an owner finance deal, or you can go ahead and pull the staging and go ahead and start showing it a different way as well. So major opportunity there across the board, but at a bare minimum, I will take every single one of those referrals.
I'm telling you, because you're so right. Even with, we know stats change daily and we can look at law of averages, but because the market is changing so quickly, it's going to be interesting to see, what percent. I remember we've been in this 20 years. And so there was a season where 1 out of 3 homes were not selling, like they just were not selling. And so I don't know what this is going to be. Now we helped those chances and those stats when we did stage, but now all of a sudden, if we've got like 1 out of 5, that might be the option for this. And it's nothing that is necessarily major negative about the property. It's just one of the check boxes doesn't check, for the traditional market. And who knows, they could have just we've had offers, but all of them fell through because they couldn't get financing. And now you just have a frustrated seller that's like, I'm out. I just want to get rid of this thing. It's stressing me out. So I love that you can literally see yourself and your program within our stager community and being able to even provide that solution to them for sure. So absolutely.
Yeah, anything that doesn't, anything that has slightly, like you said, railroad tracks on a main road, a weird floor plan. I mean, those are certainly easy things for us to see and be able to provide a solution, because the traditional buyer, especially as the traditional buyer market has shrunk completely, is probably not going to buy that property, or is not going to buy that property at that actual dollar amount. But it's also interesting too, because we buy nice move-in ready homes from the millions. We got a $12.5 million house on the market right now in New Jersey, but I would say our price point's right in the median. So you can get these nice move-in ready homes, and it's just because of what the market's doing. And the added thing right now, which is more of psychology across the board, is that sellers are becoming frustrated more quickly because of their expectations of what the original market over the past 6 months has given them. it has given them unrealistic expectations, which
Right.
means that if a property sits on the market for 30 days right now, it's an eternity to them.
Yes.
Compared to back in the day, when I first started this business, say in like 2014, it was normal for a property to sit on the market for 60, 90, 120 days. It was just, if you had an open house, you expected 1 to 3 people to show up, not 30 of them get 15 offers, and then you negotiate with 3 people. That's just not how the normal market was working back then. And now this just dramatic shift because of all the different economic things that happened over the past X amount of 24 months has now just created such unrealistic expectations that now as creative financing buyers or creative financing investors, we can still provide a solution at a price point that is still close to their expectation, but happens over time,
Yes.
which puts us in a real strong position.
The key. That is the key, because what are their choices? Their options are, do we want to reduce the price, 10, 20%?
Yeah.
Most people are anticipating 30%. Like that's going to be a cut on the market that we're about to experience. If, some of this, even multifamily, we're seeing 20% cuts, and we're talking multiple millions of dollars. What does that even relate to? So now if a creative solution is, hey, we're not going to buy your real estate on major sale, but we're going to give you a price paid out over time that we all agree on. And that is, I think more people are going to go that route if they even know it's a possibility. I just think people aren't even talking about it mainstream, so they don't even know how it would work.
I couldn't agree more. The biggest challenge with creative financing is obscurity. Most people have no idea that those options exist until somebody like myself knocks on their door, gives them a call and says, hey, I didn't know if you realize, but there are other things that you can do. And that might be for a whole nother conversation, but the way in which the United States has been absolutely brainwashed on how the real estate market actually works, you go and you save up 5 to 10%, now even 20%. You work on your credit. You then go ahead and put down, you go to a bank, and then you get a traditional loan. At that loan, you have a 30-year amortization. You then pay on that mortgage for 30 years in hopes that one day you're going to be debt-free after you paid millions of dollars in interest to the bank. And then more than likely, right before you're going to do that, they'll send out a really cool letter that says, hey, you can refinance, pull out all your money, and then you can now pay me $1 million over the next 30 years after that. And it's so I don't know, backwards and broken. Yeah, exactly. So in our world, it is all about just showing alternative options.
Yes.
And as this happens over time, and as interest rates continue to rise, which most people projecting it to reach, say, 10%, which then we have a major affordability issue, which is the biggest challenge. It's not necessarily the interest rates, because how many times have you heard this? And maybe it's just me because I'm in my 30s. People always say, yeah, well, interest rates used to be like 10, 14% when I was growing up. But I always tell them, yeah, but the price of that house was $100,000. It wasn't $500,000 then.
Right.
So now you just have the ability for the normal person, the average person, to go ahead and acquire a piece of real estate for their home is going to be much, much smaller. That opportunity is going to be much smaller, which then, of course, as us being real estate investors and providing a path to home ownership, by being able to do a rent to own program, by being able to do owner financing, by being able to give people time, sets us up to really provide a major solution for a huge pool of buyers. And guess what? In the meantime, as a real estate investor, you're going to make a shit ton of money.
There you go. We do 3 paydays, different options there. And what I am high level excited about is, right, you've got addition in single family, you've got multiplication in multifamily. And this has also been what we're seeing in multifamily, because maybe there's the 1031 exchange issue or whatever. And they're like, hey, I've got this at a 4%, 4.3%. You guys assume, or they're still part of the deal somehow. Like there's so many options at a large scale with creative financing. Are you seeing that also come about?
Yeah, let's just talk about that for a quick second, because COVID significantly sped up the tired landlord. It was like everybody that, if you go and actually look up data, when you say tired landlord, I believe it's 7 or 11 years is what the category is. If you go and look up data and tired landlord, it has significantly sped up. So now it's like 2 years as a tired landlord because of COVID and because people that expected to like get that return, to get that dream of being able to get consistent cash flow just didn't happen because of what happened through COVID.
Right.
So now you have the ability to go to landlords and say, hey, I understood what your original dream was, and that was to create cash flow. But instead of dealing with the outside tenant on a consistent basis, you can deal with a professional company that will come in, buy that piece of real estate. And after we look at the finances, we may be able to give you some money, some consistent cash flow. May it be smaller than you originally expected, potentially, but it also is going to give you that just mailbox type money. And now you can go in and operate the property as a real estate investor and be able to have them be your bank. So this is a huge opportunity. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of these multifamilies come up for sale and come up for sale at lower prices. And it's just because they're just so sick and tired of actually dealing with this entire environment that happened when it came to COVID, and it just sped things up when people are being tired landlords. And also, like I was talking about earlier, that psychology with the market shifting, everyone's panicking. The average person sits on the couch and watches the news and hears about all the awful things that happen. So what we're even seeing is even the person that is financially stable is starting to sell off assets at a shortened price because they just don't know what else to do, because everything is fear-based when it comes to their actions. And that's why if you actually look over time in history, the majority of money is made in real estate is during downturns. Mm-hmm. That's why I was speaking on stage in Atlanta like 3 or 4 weeks ago with another very prevalent person in our space, not in creative financing, but in real estate investing, wholesaling, fix and flips. And he said this, he said, you finally are in the right place at the right time. We were talking to everyone in the audience, you're ahead of the curve, because this is the time to start buying real estate as the market is dropping significantly, because people are going to start panicking. And guess what? You can actually do it without raising a bunch of capital and putting up a bunch of hard money, which means that you're even protected from the downside. Because what's going to happen in 10 years? If you hold on to this property, the market's going to be up again. It's just you have to acquire the real estate now and wait out the process, and then eventually get to a point where it's probably going to be worth even more than it is, last 6 months and 10, 15 years. So it's all about acquiring now and worry about the exit later.
Well, I know that at Summit, we're going to be talking about, we've always heard of fight or flight, right? We either fight and we go forward, or we're out of here, or the third option, and that's freeze and do nothing. Fight, flight, or freeze. So which is, that's the question that we have today, is like, which are you? Are you going to be someone that fights through this, that actually gains ground and turns this opportunity into cash flow, acquiring assets? Are you going to flight and just say, peace out, I'm out of here, I am the tired landlord, I am the tired business owner? Or are you going to freeze and do nothing and wait it out? And hopefully, Zach, I think we would be with the fighters, right?
We've been, ever since COVID hit, we've been screaming double down. That's been our anthem inside our community. It is about putting in the work now. It's about going after the opportunities now. And that was when COVID, and that was in the middle of a hot market. And now that we're seeing everything drop, the amount of deals that are being brought to fruition as of right now, it's October, it's like the 26th. Last week, we were looking at the amount of deals that we had just from October. We had close to over $1 million in 3 paydays created within our community just in the month of October in about 2 or 3 weeks. That's because right now, the opportunities are there. Yes. They are everywhere, honestly. The amount of sellers that we speak to now that are saying, hey, tell me about the other options you have now, versus 6 months ago, click. So the opportunities are enormous right now. This is the time. It's insane.
The redheaded stepchildren are popular again when it comes to creative financing, when it comes to staging, because now you add staging on these assets, no matter what play you're doing, all of a sudden everything is it's like modeling for profit. You are modeling properties for profit, and all of a sudden everything starts gaining even more value. And so I can't wait for Summit. It's going to be amazing. You have 2 sessions. You're going to be able to give everybody an overview, and then of course they can come into your room and really learn about these creative financing strategies. And the cool part is, everyone, you don't have to go it alone. You know, I would be nervous if I had to do this by myself, something I didn't understand by myself. That is not the situation here. We have the community, we have Zach, we have top 1%ers that are working together, doing big things together. So don't go this alone. Do not freeze, do not flight, but fight through this, and you can do it with a great team, right?
Love it. Well, yeah, I'm excited to spend some time with you guys. You are in for an absolute treat. I encourage you to be at this event, but not only be at the event, be present. Don't have your cell phone out, not unless it's network hour. Go in with an open mind, and it's time to get after it as soon as we get out of this event.
I love it. All right, we'll see you soon, Zach. Thanks so much.
Thank you.